I know, chasing that dough, hitting that road, getting that money, man. All I know, loading that foe, kicking down doors, getting that money, man. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is comments made by Bob Arum. Bob Arum says that Canelo vs. Plant didn't do 800,000 pay-per-view buys and that the numbers are fake. Let's take a look at what Bob Arum had to say. And I just realized I haven't been shouting out the videos, but this is behind the gloves. As you can see, I am subscribed. So, G, you watch your mouth. All right, ready? Let's hear what Bob Arum had to say.
It would be really foolish for them to do it for everybody.
With Canelo, they were still able to get to 800,000 pay-per-view.
They said they didn't go close to that.
Sure.
And also, there's a lot of other elements of what the expenses are and so forth.
Bob, I know you said that Josh Taylor is the most lucrative fight.
All right, yeah. So, basically, you heard what Bob Arum said. The numbers are fake, and they didn't even come close to that. So, Conspiracy, what's your reaction to Bob Arum questioning the numbers of Canelo and Caleb Plant?
Yeah, it just seems like unnecessary hate. You know, like, I don't know. Like, how do you know? For one, you know, like, unless you got like an inside mole or something that's like giving you some information about the actual numbers. To me, it just seems like hate. And it's like, you don't even have to do that. You can just be like, yo, congratulations to Canelo and Plant for their pay-per-view numbers. You know, like, he doesn't even have to entertain those type of things. And so that's why I don't like when networks be beefing, because it's like the same thing that you can say about them, they can say about y'all. So, you know, like, what happens when y'all numbers for the Crawford Porter fight comes out, and let's say the numbers is high or low? You know, the other network could be, they can use that as ammunition to either discredit y'all or like be like, hey, you know what, they're lying and stuff like that. So to me, it doesn't even matter, man. Like, Aaron, man, don't talk about other people's business. You know what I mean? Like, me, I always like to stay in my lane. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't need to hate on y'all to make my product better. Let me just keep shining, keep doing my thing, and then everyone else will be like, hey, you know what? I'd rather go to a top-ranked fight than to go to a PBC or to a DAZN or Matchroom fight. You know what I mean? Like, focus on your product. Stop focusing on your opposition.
All right, True Dollar Bill.
B.O.B. Please let them be. That's how you lost TC, hating on PBC. Bars. That's basically how I feel, man. Stop leaving, like G was saying, man. Like, the hating is too much. You so busy concentrating on their numbers and what they're doing, you just messed around and lost your star. You created a whole street that didn't exist because you had an issue with some other guys. And now you about to lose your guy. And this is what happens to you. You start to lose all your big fighters because they start seeing your crap. You know? Once I don't know, but hey, Bob, whatever works for you, Bob. But worried about what's going over there at Top Rank. Stop worried about everybody else's numbers and always got something to say about everybody else's numbers. Y'all worry about what's going over there on Top Rank because there's people moving out. You know what I'm saying? There's people moving out. Y'all need new tents.
Yeah. All right, Ned the TVE.
Aram, you a hater, man. You always been one, yo. It's crazy at this point. You know, I always make this line: "He who smelt it dealt it." And when you saying these type of things, where you trying to say they do things to boost their stats, you're boosting your stats. When you say they using different methods to fluctuate their numbers, you're doing the methods to fluctuate their numbers. You're telling yourself, Aram. So you know. Don't be a hater, yo. Canelo did great Canelo versus Plant did the numbers that you can't verify. You can't get yourself. So you gotta say they using these tactics that you're using to dodge the bullet. But Aram, yo, you in a different position right now. Like my man Trill said, you got some scouting to do because you're losing a lot of talent right now, man. You about to be down a lot, and by the end of the year, and so I need you to focus on your on fighters you need to get instead of numbers you're not getting, because we know Canelo did 800, but we not gonna know what TC and Sean Porter did. All right, thank you.
Yesterday I was lying. Today I'm telling the truth. That's Bob Arum in a nutshell, and that's his own. That's from his own mouth. He'll say whatever 1 minute he'll say, and I suspect in recent days we'll start hearing how he really feels about Terrence Crawford and all types of stuff. It's just the way that he is. But when all is said and done, you can try to discredit the numbers, but let's just talk about what seems plausible. Is it plausible that that fight could have sold 800,000? Absolutely. Canelo is, unequivocally, without a doubt, the number one star in boxing, and you can't deny it. And him selling 800,000 against Caleb Plant seems fairly reasonable because he's fighting a champion who's undefeated. Uh, the third one he was taken on within 11 months. I mean, come on, man. You got to give it to the dude. Even you can try to play the game. You can try to say whatever you want to discredit him. People do it all the time. But it is what it is. Only thing I know is the facts, and the fact of the matter is that this guy is a bigger star than anyone Bob Arum has on his roster. So he can say whatever he wants. The numbers are the numbers. Realistically, we don't get to see all the numbers. I know I don't personally get to see all the numbers and verify all the numbers that come out. I was told TC sold like 60,000 in one of his previous two pay-per-view fights before the Sean Porter fight. It could have been 10,000. I don't know. I don't get to look at those numbers. I was told certain things. I really gauge the popularity of a fight based on how many people are talking about it. If I'm talking about it, like the atmosphere, like how do you feel? Like this was the first time that I saw a TC in a fight where I was really excited about it because the outcome was at least in jeopardy. Up until this point, I always felt like TC was going to win, and I was just so confident. Like this is the first time that I felt like, yo, TC could lose this fight. And that's what made it exciting. It's not exciting to know these one-sided fights going in. Even Canelo Caleb is such a good boxer. It was always plausible that he could shock the world. So I'm not surprised at those numbers.
Bob Arum has smack too, because that smack situation during the press conference, that was great publicity for the Canelo fight.
Yeah, and just the fact that Caleb, you get a sense he really believed in himself, and when you talk to Sean Porter and Kenny Porter, and you look at what was coming out, now it's not really 100% certain that they believed in themselves, that they could even win the fight. But getting back to Bob Arum, it just seems like, yo, this dude put stuff out in the atmosphere, and it starts to make him seem it starts to ruin his credibility. And when your credibility is questioned, that's how you lose fighters like TC, because TC starts to feel like I can't trust nothing this dude says. And in the end, when TC says this guy couldn't secure me the Earl Spence fight, I genuinely believe, based on his actions in that moment, he was led to believe that he was going to get that fight at some point in time, and it never happened. And your explanations weren't good enough to him. Weren't good enough to him to make him stay. So I just think like Eddie Hearn was talking about the mentality of the old timers versus his mentality. But I do think in many ways the newer generation, the Al Haymans, the Eddie Hearns of the world, they are more willing to gamble with their top fighters than the old timers like Al Heyman. I'll give you an example. Anthony Joshua got 2 L's, bro. Andy Ruiz and Alexander Usyk. Anthony Joshua got 2 L's because Eddie was willing to throw him in there in tough fights. But guess what? He only got bigger. He only got bigger. AJ lost, and he's getting bigger because he's taking on the tough fights. Al Heyman is allowing guys to take on big fights as well. You know, and I know it started off as a cherry pick, but he allowed Deontay Wilder to take on Tyson Fury. He just allowed Sean Porter to take on Terrence Crawford. You know, you got to look at it like these younger promoters are more willing to take risks because they understand that the perspective in boxing is shifting. A loss isn't a death sentence like it used to be, as long as you're fighting elite competition and giving it your all. And so having an undefeated record now is being evaluated now more than ever. Before, when you said a guy was 17-0, that carried weight. That was before the social media area where we could just go to BoxRec and be like, oh, he's fighting cupcakes. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. Now we know so much. You can't fool us with that anymore. You can't fool the boxing public with it anymore. So now it's better to have one loss against elite competition than it is to be undefeated and keep fighting guys who have no shot. So, Bob, you got to change with the times, but my reaction to it is sour grapes.
I totally agree with what y'all was saying. And also, Bob got to realize, too, that TC is an influence on other fighters. That's why I'm saying about him getting his house in order. Because we seen this before when Floyd left HBO. We seen where all the other fighters went. They left when Floyd left. Crawford is such an influence over there. When he leaves, who's to say that other fighters does not leave? They already talk about Shakur Stevenson fighting Tank. You know what I'm saying? And if they can't get along, PBC and him can't get along, where do you think Shakur Stevens is going to go to try to get these other fights? And you know who he looks up to. And we know who all these other fighters that's over there top rank, who was they looking up to? They was looking up to the guy at TC. So Bob definitely got to look at that because, you know, he's a great influence and he can have some people leave with him as well. Any further comments, gentlemen?
No, that's a great point, by the way. So you better get it in order right now.
Get that house in order. Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe and check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. You know who we are. We're the Mighty Boxing Bros.